The gameplay footage on your screen right now is Half-Life II Deathmatch, that old Source Engine classic. But what if I told you that I'm not playing the game in Source, and I'm not playing it in anything else like Gold Source or Zash 3D? I'm actually playing it in Quake, technically. So what's going on here? So a little bit of background for those of you that don't know.
¿Quieres?
Half-Life 2 is built on the Source Engine. The Source Engine is the successor to the Gold Source Engine, which is what Half-Life from 1998 was built upon. But the Gold Source Engine was not Valve's original creation. It's actually a heavily modified version of the Quake engine, which they licensed from id Tech. So that's what makes this project all the more interesting to me. So it started when someone in a Discord that I'm in linked me to this post. Yukara posts, "Guess which multiplayer shooter is playable now on top of Nuclide?" And that's just the beginning. So when I saw the image, which I saw the image by itself without any context, I was thinking that this was built on the Half-Life 2 leaked beta, quote-unquote, beta engine. The one from the 2003 leak. And I was very wrong, as you can see. So, what the heck is Nuclide? Well, we'll get to that. But when I looked into it, I found this little project called Rad-Therapy II. It says the original port of Half-Life 2 to Quake World. The game is not playable from start to finish. You can play Deathmatch and other odd modes. And there's a few screenshots here of them playing through Half-Life 2, which unfortunately I could not get any of that to load whatsoever. They do have some instructions here on playing and installing. None of it worked for me, but we'll get to that as well. So what is Nuclide? Because they did say it was built on Nuclide, and you were talking about Quake. Well, Nuclide is a cross-platform game development kit. It is powered by FTE Quake World, and it is intended for developers. So what the heck does that mean? It means it's an engine. It's a fork of FTE Quake World. And you might ask, what is FTE Quake World? Well, let's go back to what Quake World is. Quake World is an official multiplayer source port made by id Software for Quake that was released in December of 1996. So thank you, John Carmack, for that. He is a big supporter of open source. But if not for him, none of this would be possible. So, Quake World is what ran the original multiplayer Quake. Then came FTEQW. FTEQW is a fork of Quake World. And then that Nuclide that we talked about earlier is a fork of that. And I know that gets a little confusing. And if you're not familiar with the terminology, a fork is you take a project and someone quote-unquote forks it. So they have their own copy of it, and then they do their own work on it. So a fork is separate from the parent project, but it could be, it could be its own thing. Sometimes they will help with the parent project. You'll have a fork where they're doing their own thing and they're trying to add on to the project or fix bugs. In this case, it was a completely separate project with its own goals. So the funny thing to me is when I was trying to look up about FTEQW, I was like, what does that even mean? Because I knew the QW was Quake World. I was familiar with Quake World. And their website describes it as Intelligent Game Engine, High-Grade Multi-Purpose Use, which doesn't tell you jack. At the bottom of the website with the copyright, it does say that it's copyright 2002 to 2025, Forethought Entertainment. That's what the FTE stands for. So, Forethought Entertainment, Quake World. So there's Quake World, which is what Quake was based on. Then there was the FTEQW fork of that project. And then there's the Nuclide fork of that project. And then based on Nuclide, you get Rad-Therapy II, which is what you were seeing in the background, me playing around. So, with the instructions, I actually came across the Patreon page, all the way back from December of 2024. So these instructions worked properly for me. but I could not get Half-Life 2 to work whatsoever. I could get the maps to load, but I would load under the map or in a wall, etc. And that's just a problem of the way that Half-Life 2 DM spawns you versus normal Half-Life. There's entities in the maps themselves that tell you this is where you spawn as Gordon Freeman, this is where you spawn, you know, as the Combine, this is how you spawn as the Rebels for Half-Life 2 Deathmatch, when I say the Combine and Rebels in this case. So I couldn't mess around with the Half-Life 2 maps at all, because also I wasn't able to access the console, so I couldn't no-clip or anything. But the interesting thing is if you read the instructions, the only thing that you add is this PK3. That's the only thing you add to the Half-Life 2 Deathmatch files. And it doesn't overwrite anything, it adds on to it. So you're using the actual Half-Life 2 Deathmatch files and Half-Life 2 files. And you're loading the BSPs, the map files, directly. And it's running. Which is so cool to me. Like, that is beyond words amazing to me. That you do not need to edit the map files, the audio files, anything to be able to load these maps and get them running. Now, do they run well? No, not at all. If you thought that this would work perfectly out of the box, you are insane. But it's very, very cool. I do hope that Yukara, I hope that I'm pronouncing that properly, I do hope that Yukara keeps up with this. I have seen that Yukara has a lot of other projects like FreeCS and FreeHL, which you can look into in your own time. Very, very cool projects, though. But obviously they're very busy with those things. And it seems like this Rad-Therapy II project was, you know, kind of a test for them more than anything. They just wanted to see if they could get this done and what they could do with it. I do hope that they pick it back up in the future. I think it's absolutely amazing, and I think you should definitely check it out. So, after all of this yapping from me, in the description will be links to the project page, the Patreon page, etc. Some of the pages you saw me have up here, with instructions on how to do it yourself. If you are a programmer and you're interested in helping, please, please, please reach out to them to help them with this project, because I think that this would be absolutely incredible to get working properly. I'm just going to have a bit of a clip dump just to show you some of the silliness that came from this. My favorite thing is that the engine didn't quite understand things like static. I'm not great with Hammer, but I know that, you know, there's such entities as like static versus dynamic, and I don't know if they're called dynamic, but things that can move. There's things that move, and there's things that don't move. And this engine sometimes doesn't know which one's which. So, like at one point, I end up hitting a tree with my gravity gun, and the tree goes flying, and it takes offense with it, and you'll see what happens. But thanks for watching. See you next time.